Welcome to the Man Mode Podcast, the show where we have real conversations about men's mental health, fatherhood, and manhood. Here, we share the stories of everyday men across America, their struggles, their triumphs, and their truths. This is about breaking silence, building strength, and redefining what it means to be a man today. You're listening to the Man Mode Podcast. All right, let's get into it. All right, welcome back to another episode of the Man Mode Podcast. Today, we have a guest that I've been really looking forward to talking to, get his unique perspectives on his mental health journey and how he processes things. So, without further ado, this is DJ. And DJ, thank you so much for being on the show, man. So, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, no, for real. I greatly appreciate you taking the time out of your day to do this. I know you're a busy guy too. So with that being said, I guess we're just going to go ahead and get into it. By the way, y'all, DJ is an independent music artist. Yeah.
Yes,
what
sir.
state are you from again?
I am from California. I live in a little city called Citrus Heights right now, but I'm originally from a small town called Auburn, California. And that's where I pretty much started making music, but we can get into that later.
Well, that goes into my first question here. You know, I like to get people's stories, and I like to start from the childhood up to where they are now. And at the end of it, I like to figure out what their future's going to be. So that being said, you said you were born in Auburn, California?
So I wasn't born in Auburn, California. That's where we moved when I was a younger child. I was originally born in South Miami Beach, Florida. A lot of people like to make the joke like, oh, you were born on the beach? No. But yeah, South Miami Beach, Florida was where I was born, and months later we ended up moving to California, living in various other places, and then we eventually settled in Auburn. So there's that.
All right. So you don't remember anything about Miami Beach? Like,
Definitely not, man.
Yeah.
I've thought about like just doing an odd trip out there just to see like if anything like catches my eye. I'm like, why does that look familiar? But honestly, I don't remember a thing about it.
That's kind of like with me in Germany. So I was born over in Germany because both of my parents were military whenever they had me. And I think we left Germany when I was 3 or 4. The only thing I remember about Germany is what the apartment complex looked like that we lived in.
Right.
And it was right across from a really big cow pasture. And that cow pasture had like a bunch of hills and everything. It was really pretty. Other than that, I don't remember a single thing about Germany.
Oh man.
So, what was your childhood like?
Childhood, let's see. Let's get into that. So when we moved to California, we pretty much moved to like a pretty country-like town called Garden Valley / Georgetown. The towns are really close together, so it's like you don't really know the difference between the two because they're both very similar. But we moved out there when I was a really young, when I was like, I want to say at least months old, obviously, because we moved from Miami Beach. But out there, we lived on my grandpa's ranch, which was up on a mountain, which was really cool because it was very secluded. It was really quiet. You didn't hear the sound of traffic or civilians anywhere. It was a nice little like escape from the noise. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we grew up there for a little bit, and then I want to say around 4 or 5 years old, that is when we made the move up to the small town Auburn that I spoke about. And that's pretty much where, you know, I went to elementary school, middle school, high school, graduated high school from there, had my first job, had my first group of friends, had my first girlfriend, had my first heartbreak, all the things you can imagine. And that's also where I got my start in music. And so a lot of a lot of a lot of firsts in that town, and that's why it holds a special place in my heart, and that's why I call it home to this day. I mean, don't get me wrong, where I live now, I consider it home, but it's not like my hometown,
Yeah.
Growing up, I would say I don't want to say my childhood was bad, because it wasn't. There are people that have had far worse than I have, and we weren't necessarily broke, but my family was definitely paycheck to paycheck for many years, and I give all the credit to my parents, because they did everything possible to give myself and my sister the best childhood that they could. My dad would give us allowances every now and then, even when bills needed to be paid and food needed to be on the table. My mom worked stupid hours just to help us get by. And it took its toll for sure, because my mom and dad didn't have the greatest marriage. A lot of fighting, a lot of yelling, and me and my sister would just be secluded in our bedrooms, just listening to everything. And it affected all of us. So kind of like starting off on a dark note, but I mean, that's just the way it was growing up. And eventually, speed forward a little bit, my mom and dad, they decided to divorce, which they did this around the time when I graduated high school. So I already had a good wherewithal of what was going on. And it was honestly the best thing for them, because they were both just unhappy. And it was just the best move that they could have made, because both of them are much happier now, and they actually get along much better now that they're apart versus being together, which is great. I love both my parents. Me and my dad had a few altercations growing up, nothing super physical, because that's my dad. I would never lay a finger on him, but I did have to intervene in a couple arguments between him and my mom, because it was just getting too fierce. But let's backtrack a little bit. Growing up, let's just start with my first interaction with getting bullied. During my 5th grade year, throughout a majority of it, I was bullied a lot. Growing up, I was a very shy, timid, awkward child. And you wouldn't think that with the way you see me now. I'm making music, I'm performing music, I'm out there in the community doing my thing. I live stream on Twitch in front of X amount of people. You wouldn't think I was outgoing growing up, but I wasn't. I was a very shy, timid, very awkward child. And I was also a very small child. I was skinny like no other. A lot of people questioned if I was eating, which was tough and really threw me off, because of course I eat. I can eat like no other. So a lot of people saw that and they took advantage of that. They would call me ridiculous names, skinny boy, just horrible names. People were bigger than me, so obviously they took advantage of that, and they would shove me around. There were even moments during my 5th grade year when they would chase me around the campus just to scare me, and I would try to hide in other classrooms, and teachers would look at me and be like, "What are you doing? Go outside." I'd be like, I really don't want to. I really don't want to. And I didn't really want to bring up what was happening, because obviously, this phrase wasn't around at that time, but people have heard the phrase, snitches get stitches, right? So I was afraid of retaliation, if I were to say anything at all. So I kept my mouth shut about everything. Same thing with my parents. I never told them anything about anything that was going on. And I regret that now. But at the time, it just felt like the best thing, because I didn't want to face retaliation against the people that were going after me. I would come home from having grass stains on my pants. Sometimes they would have holes in them. And my parents would be like, what is going on? We just bought you those pants. I'm like, sorry, I played a little rough today. My bad.
Yeah.
And so with that, anytime I came home, I would just go straight to my room. If I had any homework to do, I would just sit down, do my homework, and then just seclude myself.
You would isolate yourself.
Exactly. I would just isolate myself and just try to deal with everything myself. And it took its toll for a really, 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 really long time.
Why did you feel like you had to do that?
Because growing up, I would see the way other people would, handle situations, and they handled it with grace, and they handled it. I don't know. I couldn't handle it the way they could. And growing up, from the TV shows that I watched to the music that you listen to other people that you would talk to, it would seem taboo to express what's going on. You would have to put on this shield, you know what I mean? And so this aura that everything is okay, everything is fine. I'm a tough guy. I can handle this on my own. People gave me this perception that you have to be tough, otherwise you're weak. And I didn't want to be seen as weak, And so, because if I were seen as weak, I would feel embarrassed. I would feel lesser than. So, speed forward a bit. There was one day in particular where everything came to a head. I came home from school after another day of getting bullied, and this was when I was at the ripe age of, I want to say, 11 years old or so. And I had enough. I was at my boiling point. I couldn't handle it anymore. And I had thoughts and wanted to take my own life at this age. And sure enough, I would go to try to do that. And before I made the act to do it, something stopped me. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was the man upstairs, whatever you believe in. I don't know what you believe in, but that's not my business. But I don't know if it was the man upstairs or some voice in my head, but something stopped me from doing it. And so after I made the decision to not follow through, I just broke down, I just fell to the floor. I broke down. I let out every single bit of pain and emotion out in that moment. However, I still didn't feel all that much better. I still felt that pain a little bit, but for the most part, the weight had been lifted. So let's go to the next day after that. I go to school. I see the main kid that was picking on me. He's walking towards me. And I go, man, not again. Not again. And so he has this group of friends with him. So I'm like, okay, what's going to happen here? So I go to walk as if I'm just minding my own business. My plan was to just walk right by him, go straight to the playground, and just mind my business. Him and I are passing each other. He shoulder checks me so hard to the point where I fell to the floor. And all of his friends are standing around, laughing, teasing me. And that's where I snapped. So yeah, exactly. And so I stood up. I grabbed this kid by his shirt. I pinned him against the wall, and you can guess what happened next. So this is where it gets interesting, because instead of feeling good about what I did, I didn't. I didn't feel good about what had happened. So I had two choices. I could have walked away after that happened and act like nothing happened at all. or I take responsibility and I march to the office and I talk to the principal. I went and talked to the principal. I know. It's not really a decision that you would have expected. But my reasoning behind it was if I wanted everything to stop, I had to step up and do the right thing.
Right.
So I went to the principal. I explained everything to the T of what was going on and what just happened as well. Both of us did get in trouble. You know, I wasn't expecting to get out of that scot-free. You know, I did act out of impulse, out of rage, out of just pure anger. And, you know, we both got in trouble, but after that, everything smoothed over and I didn't get picked on anymore after that.
That's a rare case.
It is a very rare case.
Because most of the time when, especially, well, I'm not going to say especially, we'll just say most of the time whenever kids go to the principal or they go to a teacher or something in that situation, a lot of the times it don't get better. A lot of the times it gets worse. So that's actually pretty interesting.
No, definitely. And I've heard of those cases happening too. But thankfully, you know, when all the other kids heard about like what I decided to do and how both of us got in trouble, they were like, oh, wait, I don't want that to happen to me.
Yeah.
But a lot of other cases, you know, I agree with you. There's, you know, retaliation happens or it just progressively gets worse. You know, I've definitely seen those cases happen as well.
Yeah. You know, when I was growing up, I didn't get that much in the way of bullying. Bullying wasn't something that I necessarily dealt with. I was on the football team, so maybe that was why. I have no idea. But, you know, other than just like picking on each other, making little jokes here and there, that was the extent of it. So I'm sure I wasn't the nicest kid at 11, 12, or 13, you know.
Right.
I can't think of a situation where I necessarily bullied somebody. And if anybody from my childhood is watching this and is like, nah, you weren't very nice. I get it. I'm sorry. But no, I kept to myself too. And I think a lot of that was because of my mom raising me by herself. You know, that's one heck of a woman that raised me. And shout out to all the mamas out there doing it by themselves.
Absolutely, yes.
Freaking rock star human beings. So yeah, no, that's a really interesting story though about you being, you know, having to go through bullying as a kid.
Yeah, it was not a great experience, which kind of is mainly the reason why I make the music that I do and do the work that I do outside of that as well.
How do you go from being this shy, timid kid to building up enough courage to where you can make music and open yourself up to that sort of like ridicule, right? Because, you know, there's not everybody resonates with everybody's music. So you do open yourself up to a level of ridicule, no matter what the talent level is, no matter what the content is, you know. So how do you go from being this shy, timid kid to having the courage? Because quite frankly, you know, takes balls to do what you do, just in my opinion. So, but how do you go from that extreme to the other? What happened in between that time where you were just like, okay, I'm going into this?
Well, it was a very interesting way that it happened. So, in middle school, we'll just talk about how I started. So in middle school, a few friends of mine, we wanted to start a band. And this was like before hip hop was even a thought, right? So, little background on me, I had listened, like in middle school, I was listening to a lot of like hard rock, classic rock, heavy metal type stuff. We all go through our phases. That was one phase that I went through in my life. And so me and a couple friends, we wanted to start our own band. We knew we wanted to do rock. We didn't know what kind of rock, but we just knew we wanted to start a band together. And so speed forward a little bit, the idea falls through. However, because I was going to be the lead guy on the microphone, which I'm like, I don't know why I signed myself up for that at that time. Scary to even think about, you know? So I was the lead guy, so I would be writing the songs. And for some reason, whenever I would finish writing, it just felt like a release just happened, like it felt good. And,
Right.
when people think about writing, they're like, man, I hated English in school. Like, why is writing even a thing, But for some reason, I really enjoyed it. So the idea falls through. Me and the guys, we're still cool to this day. Like, they're friends I would consider brothers, and I would do anything for them in a heartbeat and vice versa. So the idea fell through, but for some reason, I couldn't stop writing. I just really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the feeling it gave me. I enjoyed the therapeutic side of it, and how creative everything turned out to be. And so speed forward to high school. I befriend a bunch of people and we decide, like, let's start our own Hollywood Undead type group. I don't know if you've heard of them, but
Oh yeah.
So we really wanted to go that route with it. Long story short, that idea fell through as well. Still cool with those guys as well. We just weren't prepared properly, And again, I just couldn't stop writing, but because Hollywood Undead has a lot of like rap style, I was writing in that style. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, I really like the way I can play with words. I like how this word rhymes with this word. I like how this part sounds and this part sounds. Like, the creative side of writing hip hop rap music intrigued me. And so some time passes and I'm just thinking, like, man, I really want to do something in the realm of music, but I don't know if I want to go the route of a group again or if I should just do it solo.
Right.
And so I was sitting down and studying for a test, and I had music playing in the background because music helped me focus at that time. And so I was listening and studying, and then all of a sudden, Eminem's song Mockingbird comes on.
Great song.
Such a good song. And
Great
so
song.
I was listening to it, and instead of just like listening to it to listen to it,
Yeah.
I was really trying to pay attention to what he was saying and the emotion behind what he was saying. And I was listening to it, and I sat there and I was like, this is what I want to write about. This is the stuff that I want to write. Because it's just so emotional and raw, and that's what I wanted to do. I just didn't know how to go about it because I needed to do my own thing. I didn't want to just copy and paste what Eminem was doing in my stuff, So I decided to start making a Facebook page saying, like, hey, I'm going to start making hip hop music. And it's cool that you mentioned the ridicule that comes with that, because I got a lot of it.
I bet so.
I got a lot of it.
Seriously, I mean what I said earlier. Like, it takes cojones to do what you do.
It does.
It really does. To stream and then to put your creative ideas out there for all the billions of people in this world to hear. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's courage, brother. That's courage.
So
it really is.
So after I had started that, that's when the ridicule started coming in. That's when the comments started coming in, the insults started coming in, everything, I was just writing in my notebook at the time, and like, people had caught wind that I was trying to become a hip hop artist, and some people were supportive of it. A lot of people were not. So speed forward a little bit to my first shot at performing on stage. My school had a little like fair type thing that they would throw every year, kind of called it's like a palooza type deal. And so they had a lot of different activities. They had live music, they had food, anything you could imagine. And so my best friend's older sister was on the committee for planning the live entertainment. She had caught wind that I was making music, making music at the time when I was just writing in my notebook. And she comes up to me and she goes, "Would you like a chance to perform at this event?" I'm like, yes. However, I don't have any songs. She looked at me and was like, "Well, can you do cover songs?" I said, "That's a good idea. Let's do it." So, speed forward to the day of, I had burned a CD of 2 censored versions of Not Afraid by Eminem, I Need a Doctor by Eminem and Dr. Dre and Skylar Grey, and Coming Back Down by Hollywood Undead. So those were the 3 songs that I performed at this event. And after I got off that stage, I was geeking. I'm like, this is exactly what I want to do. However, I needed my own music. And that's the part where I felt unsatisfied with my first performance because it wasn't my stuff.
Right.
And so some time passes, a buddy of mine tells me about this nonprofit that gets together and they give people a chance to perform and all this stuff. And so I start connecting with this nonprofit, and, you know, I'm going to speed forward a little bit because they start doing workshops on, you know, structuring your songs, how to produce beats, how to record, this, that, and the third. So a lot of the skills that I learned are through this nonprofit that I've been with since I was 16 years old. I hate to age myself, but I'm 31 now. So I've been with them for about half my life.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's been a journey, but going back, you know, after learning the skills that I learned, you know, I was able to get some songs recorded. I was able to release them. And so this is where the ridicule intensified because people were starting to call me, you know, a whack white rapper, even though I'm not white. You know, my dad is from Nicaragua in Central America. My mom's from South Dakota. So, I mean, a good majority of me is white, but there's that other part of me, you know? So they were calling me a whack white rapper, a wannabe Eminem, telling me that I sucked. There was one point where people were sending me emails with death threats in them saying if I didn't stop, you know, it's the end of the line for you. And that was the moment where I was like, maybe I do need to stop. Maybe I do need to stop.
What was your initial reaction when you would get such an extreme emotional kind of email?
It was terrifying. It didn't make me want to go outside, you know? It made me want to stay at home and never see the light of day, you know? And so I knew this was ridicule coming from kids at school, though, at the same time. So I would go to school, even though the thought of stopping was in my mind, the thought of quitting music was in my mind, I didn't. And so days would go by, and I would notice that these threats that were being made were empty threats.
Yeah.
Because these people, and I would know exactly who were making these threats, would stand 5 feet away from me when we were out in public and nothing would happen. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to keep going.
They was just yapping.
They were just yapping, and that's all it was. It was just feedback from the peanut gallery, you know? So I kept doing my thing. I kept improving my skills, and speed forward to now, my music has, you know, inspired and motivated many people and has helped a lot of people through some of the hardest times in their life. And I've had people reach out to me and say that my music has even saved their life, which, you know, obviously as an artist, you know, you want to be heard. But now that, you know, I have people that are telling me that I've saved their life, you know, it kind of creates a whole new responsibility as an artist, you know, and I don't mind that responsibility because if I can save at least one life with a song, then I know I've done my job.
Absolutely. It's So I've listened to all of your projects,
My man.
and I did. So whenever we were setting this all up, and I asked every guest, what can I do, what what knowledge do I need to have coming into the conversation?
Yeah,
That's probably one of the first things that I asked you was that because I like to contribute to these kind of conversations,
for sure.
and I also like music. Now, rap and hip hop's not necessarily what I normally listen to.
Right.
However, I really liked the projects that you sent me, and I listened to every single song
Nice.
multiple times over. So,
My man.
um, so I want to go into your album. It came out in 2017, Out of the Darkness.
Yep. That's a lot of people's favorite album too.
Um, I really, really liked that album.
I'm glad. Hell yeah.
So before we dive into my favorites, one of my favorite songs from this album,
Okay.
when you're going into the creative process to make your albums, we'll just talk about Out of the Darkness.
Sure.
How did that happen? Why does Out of the Darkness exist, and how did you get your message across in the creative process? Like, what was going through your mind?
Out of the darkness, let's see. My thought process was, because during that time, 2017, mind you, I was still coming out of a pretty dark point from a few years prior. So we can backtrack. So 2014, a lot had happened during that year. My girlfriend at the time that I was seeing, who I had proposed to, and ultimately we ended up calling off the engagement because we both mutually decided we weren't ready.
Yeah.
Which was a very respectable move on her part and my part as well. It takes a big person to decide that. We ended up just ending it because there was just a bunch of conflict in our relationship and all that. So we ended up splitting. I had a buddy who had passed away because he had been hit by a car and he didn't make it. And, it comes in threes, right? So then my uncle had passed away that year as well. And I was physically in the room when they made the call. So 2014, those were just the few things right there that I had went through that took a big toll on me. And, throughout, as time progressed, I was trying to battle the emotions, the demons that came from that. I was in a dark place. I won't lie. So 2017 rolls around, even a little before that, because I did start Out of the Darkness before 2017 happened. So Out of the Darkness, I wanted to make that album not only to pull others out of the darkest time of their lives, but I also made that album to pull myself out of the darkest time of my life. So that was my thought process, but I wanted to make sure that I did it properly,
Yeah. Well, you did it properly.
Oh, I definitely did. A lot of those songs are pretty heavy. Still have a tough time listening to them as well to
Yeah.
this day. But I knew it was necessary for me to make those songs, not only for my benefit, but for others as well. And so that was my thought process going into making this project. And I definitely feel like I succeeded in doing that.
Absolutely. No, it's a great album, and a lot of your music. One thing that I definitely recognize with a lot of your music was that this is your way of processing.
Absolutely.
Relationships, life, loss, legacy, all of these things, and it really comes out in the I guess the artistry of it all.
Yeah.
and I really appreciated listening to all of it. In particular, Drown.
Ooh.
In particular, Drown. I've listened to that one on repeat, and I'm not somebody who listens to songs on repeat very often.
Right.
I have my different playlists, and you'll be sad one minute, happy the next,
Yeah.
ready to, quote unquote, beat somebody up.
Yeah.
the
You're
next
just
song.
ready to go to war.
Yeah, dude. And so, but Drown, I listened to repeat. For one, I liked the flow. I like the real melodic flow of it all. So for those who don't know, what is that song about, and why does that song exist?
That song in particular, Drown, is just basically my take on, you're going through so much, you're feeling so much, and it all weighs down on you, it all weighs down on you, making you feel like you're just drowning in a sea of emotions, to put it lightly, and that's why that song exists, because at the time of writing that, you can hear the pain in my voice. And as much as, I wanted to show that melodic flow, dude, you don't have any idea how many times, how many retakes of each verse that I had to do when I was recording that song. It was I wouldn't say it was the most difficult song that I've done, but it was definitely up there. And, every take that I did, I would have to take a moment after I recorded it just to recollect myself, because that song is personal, and I wanted to get that personal because I know we all go through those motions in our day-to-day lives. We got people that are getting fired from their jobs. We got people that are getting divorces or getting out of relationships. There's so many different scenarios that could make you feel a type of way, like everything's weighing down on you all at once and you feel like you're drowning. And so I really wanted to portray that in this song, not only for myself, but for others out there that feel that way,
Yeah. I love that song. I really, really do. Out of that whole album, which I liked, like I said, I liked all of it.
Yeah.
All of it that I've listened to. I liked all of it. But Drown is definitely my favorite one from that album in particular.
Yeah. That song is a personal favorite of mine. It was my favorite to record. It's my favorite to perform. And a lot of people gravitate towards that song when they hear this album too. So it makes me really happy to know that we got another one.
Yeah. No, hey, you nailed it. You nailed it. Who did the intro?
So the intro, that is a singer by the name of Nate. His part was already on the beat. Mind you, I didn't produce this beat. This beat was produced by another producer.
Okay.
But I had purchased that beat with his voice on the hook already, because I had listened to it and I heard him sing the hook. And I said, I'm sold. This is the one. I'm gonna
have it.
I'm gonna throw my paycheck on this beat, and we are getting it. So I'm really glad that I came across it. I'm really glad I made the decision to get it, and I'm glad the song came out to be what it is.
Yeah, you should absolutely. Not that you need my, affirmation from it, but dude, seriously, awesome song. Awesome song, awesome album for sure.
Thank you.
The next song that I wanted to go into is Good Vibes Only.
Oh, yeah.
That's such a good one. I love the intro to that with the guitar. Oh,
Yep.
I love that.
Yep.
So, is that you playing the guitar?
It is not. So,
Oh, it's not. Okay.
fun fact, that is a loop that I found on a website that I had gotten in contact with someone with, and I was like, can I use this for one of my songs? Pretty please. Pretty please, with a cherry on top. I'll even pay you if need be. And they said, no, you're good, man. Go ahead and use it. So it was a guitar loop that I had found, and I just literally produced the beat around that guitar loop. So that's one that I produced from scratch. And the artist on it, Galactic Vibes, is another artist that I had done shows with previously, that I've connected with on many different occasions. And I really like him, and his music has like the same type of message that mine does. Only like with him, it's more like upbeat. It's more dancey feel,
Yeah.
reggae type stuff, which, I'm a fan of reggae. I love reggae. Reggae has
Me
a good
too.
vibe, and I love seeing people come alive with that kind of music. And so I wanted him on this song because I know he has that same exact message that he portrays in his music. So I wanted him to step outside of his comfort zone and get on something that was like a little more deep but fun. So he agreed to it, and we got to work, and that's how Good Vibes Only came about.
It's so catchy.
It's such a catchy song, and
It sticks with you.
Yeah, it does stick with you, and that's what I was really trying to accomplish with the hook of that song, the chorus of the song.
Yeah.
So
that was another one. You knocked it out of the park. I love that song.
The final result of that just made me so happy. And, that song itself, like, yeah, we're going through hard times, but as long as you're feeling good vibes from those around you, it can help, it can help bring you up.
Feel the Groove is another good one from that album too.
It's so funny you say that, because where I work right now, once they learned I make music, that is the song that they gravitated towards. And I have a really cool story about that song. So,
well, tell it.
So my work has this thing. So I work at a place called Top Golf. I'm pretty sure that you may have heard of it. It's like a restaurant with golf involved. It's kind of like bowling. So that's where I work. I'm a manager at this establishment. And so, they have this thing called a Top Golf talent show. It's a global Top Golf talent show. And there's a lot of Top Golf. There's like hundreds of locations. So it's a global talent show where anybody that works at these can enter. And the final 3 get to go out to the Texas location. And they get to perform in front of X amount of people for the company. So I had submitted, and speed forward a bit, I find out that I made the final 3. I'm like, what?
Nice.
This is crazy, because this is thousands of people within the company that I've submitted to be a part of this, and I'm in the final 3. Me, just a solo hip-hop artist trying to get his message out, And so the song that I had submitted was actually a deeper song. Come to find out, when you go to perform at the location in Texas for what's called the Global Star Awards, where they recognize some of the top people in the company, you get to perform whatever song you want. And so I was like, well, since everybody loves Feel the Groove, why not perform Feel the Groove? And so speed forward, I get to travel out to Texas, and I get to perform at this event called the Global Star Awards. And I performed that song in front of, I don't even know how many, but the production of this show was insane. It was like Grammy level production.
No way.
It was insane. They had me go backstage during one of the other performers. They had me stand in a certain spot, and once they called my name, I had to walk out to a certain spot on the stage, and that's where I performed. Like, it was insane, the amount of production that went into this, and it was just so much fun, such a great experience. Everybody loved it. In the end, I didn't end up winning the competition, but I didn't care, because the fact that I got to travel and perform in front of so many different people from so many different venues, that was the win that I took from it. And it was so much fun.
Yeah. How did the audience react?
They loved it, dude.
Yeah, dude. Feel the Groove is awesome.
Yeah. After everything was said and done and the award show was over, we had the after party. And so everybody was coming up to me like, man, dude, you should have won. That song was so much fun. That song was catchy, this, that, and the third. I liked this part where you said this. I'm like, thank you.
Right? Oh, gosh. The gratitude from when someone in an audience just like walks up to you and or just anybody who hears it, you know, especially live,
Yeah.
I can only imagine how good that makes you feel, especially given, you know, like the backstory of you,
Mm-hmm.
the challenges that you face, the ridicule
Yeah.
that you initially faced whenever people found out you were making music. Um, Truly, it's an incredible story. It really is. It really, really is, and I'm glad that you're, you know, sharing it with me and with, you know, anybody that's going to listen to this. Music is something that, let me put it to you this way: I have not met anybody who has not been affected by music in some way, shape, or form. It's like the debatably, it's like the most ultimate form of expression.
Right.
It
Yeah.
really is.
I agree.
So, you know, take my dad for example. A huge country fan, old school country fan. That's just what he likes.
Yeah.
And to this day, he's listening to songs that are 40, 50, 60 years older than him, you know?
Right.
And they still have some form of emotional impact on his life. They make him happy. They make him think of a time where things weren't good. And the same thing can be said for me.
For
I like
sure.
I like a lot of older music too. Um, Across all genres.
Yeah.
You know, the wife and I, we're going to go see Kevin Gates in October.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah. Now, she's a huge Kevin Gates fan. I'm going because I want to do something with my wife. I want to be there for
Yeah.
my wife.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, there's some Kevin Gates songs that are pretty catchy to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited for that. But get back on topic here. Just the way that you express yourself in your music, I think is something that a lot of people can resonate with. I mean, a lot of it is deep conversations just in a musical / poetry form. And I'm here for it. I'm
For
here for it.
sure.
I'm loving what you're doing. I really, really am.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
So your sadness speaks.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, this was another good one for me. Take me through, and I won't spoil it for nobody, but take me through day by day.
Ooh, day by day. So day by day,
Really good song.
yeah, it's a powerful one. It hits for
Mm-hmm.
sure. You know, a lot of times we get asked one simple question, and it was the very first question that you asked me. How are you doing today?
Yeah.
We all get asked that question consistently on a day-to-day basis. And a lot of times you get different responses, right? You get, I'm good. I'm great. I'm okay. I'm all right. And then, you know, you get those responses like let's go with one response. So you get one response from somebody that says, "Oh, I'm good." Or "I'm all right." And you're like, "Are you sure?" You're like, "Yeah." Me myself, I like to be honest, right? When someone asks me how I'm doing, you're going to get the correct answer every single time. So there was one day, you know, I was kind of feeling low, you know, because, you know, from everything that I went through, you know, it's taken its toll on me into my adulthood. So I still deal with it from time to time. You know, I'm a lot better than where I was, but I still deal with it, you know, like any other person would. So if there was one day someone asked me a question, they asked me that question, "How are you doing?" I looked at them in the face and I said, "I'm just taking it day by day." And I'm like, "Wait, this is a topic. Let's talk about it."
Right.
And so day by day, the beat to that song was one that I had produced myself as well. And I had it just sitting there and it wasn't doing anything for a little bit. I won't lie. Cause there's a lot of times where like I'll produce a beat, I'll finish it, and I won't do anything with it. It just sits there and collects dust. Day by day was one of those beats. And so after I had heard that question, I'm like, I really need a beat that's going to portray the emotion that I'm feeling with this topic. And so I listened to the beat for Day by Day. I'm like, this is the one. So
I love that.
I sat down, I started, and it was insane because like normally when I'm sitting and thinking about what to write, I'm sitting there for hours on end. Like, how do I want to start this? Because the hardest part, I will tell you as a songwriter, is starting the song. Literally just starting to write the song.
Right, like where are we going with this?
Exactly, because you want that first, like the first few, we'll just use the terminology that I use. You want those first few bars to catch the attention of the listener.
Mm-hmm.
So I sat down, and it like normally it takes me hours to think of how I want to start it, but the moment I listened to the beat and the moment my pen hit the pad, done. It was like the horses
No time at all.
shooting out for the races, man. Like I knew exactly what I wanted to say. I knew how I wanted to say it, and that's how Day by Day came about.
I love it. What you just said, like, you know, with like, okay, where are we going to go with this?
Yeah.
That is something that I find myself questioning whenever I'm doing an episode of this podcast.
Oh,
It's
for
like,
sure.
okay, it's
Definitely.
like, okay, what am I going to talk about? Like, especially if I'm doing it solo, right?
Yeah.
'Cause a lot of my episodes up to this point have been just me talking. And kind of like with what you were saying, some people are supportive.
Right.
A lot of people are not. And I think people forget to understand, just like with my journey on this whole thing, I'm just starting.
Yeah.
I'm just starting with this. So
Right.
when I do my own independent research into something like fatherless households in America and why that came to be the epidemic that it is today,
Mm-hmm.
my knowledge it's now granted I'm a lot more, that's not really how you say that, but I'm more educated on these matters than some people are because of what I grew up with and the separation of my families. But there's a lot of historical events, societal shifts of opinion that led to something like fatherless households. But whenever I put my opinion out there, which is based in fact, when I put my opinion out there, the ridicule comes, boom,
Yeah.
just like that. I posted the video on TikTok, and the caption of it was, which I set myself up for this. I'll just be honest. I set myself up for this. The caption was "Men under attack." They didn't even read the video, or they didn't even listen to the video. They just saw that one title, which was, you know, again, my fault. I made a whoopsie there. But instead of listening to the message, they just saw what it was at face value.
Mm.
And the comments flooded in. I had to take the video down. It was getting so bad I had to take the video down.
Yikes.
Yeah. Because I don't mind if people disagree with me on something. That's
Right.
fine. That's fine.
Right.
Disagreeing and having conversations, that's how you learn. That's how you become better.
Right.
But whenever people are just outright getting overly defensive about something, and they're not coming from a place of, okay, well, I disagree with you. Here's why. Let's talk about it. They're just coming at, I got to get this guy.
Yeah.
So,
Bring the knives
Granted,
and pitchforks.
oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, dude. The comments on this video were crazy. And I had to take the video down and make a follow-up video. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But you know, the moral of what I'm trying to get to is, granted, it's not on the same scale as you because it's a little bit different in
Right.
form of like content. It's a different kind of, debatably, it's a different kind of artistry.
Right.
So it's crazy what you think about whenever you're seeing this ridicule come through. And I can only imagine what it was like for you just getting started with your music back in the day, and then fast forward to now where you're at, like just how different it is now.
Yeah. It's such a different ball game now. As far as the ridicule goes, because it's a lot less, you know.
Yeah.
You're gonna get those every now and then, but I would say the first 2 years were the hardest because of the ridicule that I was getting. But once those 2 years passed, as time progressed, it got better. Yeah, you're going to get a little heckler here and there, but it comes with the territory, you know. And I tell everybody this that wants to do like any form of entertainment, honestly, whether if it's music, whether if it's podcasting, whether if it's streaming, you're gonna get ridicule. It's how you, how do I want to say it? It's how you overcome it that shows the character that you are and the character that you have. Which, you know, I give you all the props in the world for starting this podcast and starting it or doing it solo, you know, because that's not easy to do, because the majority of podcasts that you do see have a co-host of some sort.
Yeah.
Which I give you all the props in the world for trying to do this solo. You're killing it from the episodes and the clips that I've watched. You're doing great, you know.
Thank you.
So with the ridicule that you do get, I mean, it's easier said than done, but you just got to brush it off your shoulder and keep moving. And that's what I did.
No, it's when you talk about things like, so mental health in general, there's a lot of stigma around it.
So much.
I see it, it's, in my opinion, from my experiences, it is so much more prevalent with men's mental health versus other kinds.
Right.
And people can debate that till the sun goes down, and that's perfectly fine.
Right.
I just see a lot of men, and again, you know, like, don't even take my word for it. Go look at like the statistics.
Yeah.
When you talk about men and like their social circles, their, you know, platonic relationships and romantic relationships, the having kids, work, struggles, challenges, it's getting worse, by the way, but it seems like men just have this innate feeling of having to do it alone, and that's not always the case. It's
Right.
not, it's
Right.
not, you know, that's just a general blanket, but I see and hear lots of men struggling.
Mm-hmm.
And since starting this podcast, a lot of guys have come up to me and they've not that I think of myself as a therapist. I don't think like that at all. It's just
Right.
when they see the content, they come to me and they're saying a lot of the same things of, you know, I can't believe you're doing this. This is really good. These conversations don't happen enough, you know. So when you think about mental health of men in America, how do you see the state of it and where it's going?
Well, I mean, the way that I see it, you know, I kind of touched on it a little earlier with my own experience,
Right.
because the society has portrayed us men to be the tough guys. We're kings. We are conquerors. We wear the shield. We are the protectors. We're the providers. So for us to show any type of weakness, people, I don't know. I don't think people understand the fact that, you know, we are human too. We deserve to feel just like any other person. But the society has portrayed that it's not okay for us to feel like that. Right? And throughout the years, you know, I've seen the same thing. I've been seeing it get worse and worse, and it's super sad to see. So that's why I do what I do with my music and the work that I do outside of my music, to portray that it's okay to not be okay. You know, you shouldn't be ashamed to feel the way you feel, you know. And throughout the years, you know, I've been seeing it a lot. You know, people will shame somebody because they're having a bad day and they want to express it. But they're like, oh, but you shouldn't feel this way. And my response to that is like, who are you to tell me how I should be feeling?
Right. It's such a big problem today. People,
yeah.
Just not like, okay, go to like any social media, right?
Oh, yeah.
Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, whatever. You get just like these random people telling you how you should feel.
Yep.
And then like they attack you for not feeling the way that they think you should feel in that situation.
Yeah, I agree. You
That
know,
makes
they,
no
yeah,
sense to me. Why?
they tell me like, "Oh my God, you should be feeling grateful. You should be feeling happy. You should be feeling this way."
Right.
Don't tell me how I should be feeling. Like, you're not in my shoes. How do you know how I should be feeling? Let me feel the way I want to feel.
Right. I mean, I know everybody's got an opinion about everything. It's just sometimes you just sit there, and this is why I really limit my time on social media now because of this kind of stuff. I post my clips. I spend maybe an hour at the most responding to comments or whatever, and then I let it go for the rest of the day. But I've had to really limit my time on social media because you can go down some rabbit holes for one and waste a bunch of time, and two, it's borderline depressing
Mm-hmm.
to
I
see
like,
how people are towards each other, and it's
yeah,
like, golly.
I like to call it a toxic wasteland.
Mm-hmm. That's a great way to say it. That's just about perfect, really. My dad won't even download social media, and other than like YouTube or whatever, but like like Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, he refuses, and I can't say that I blame him.
No, not at all.
I can't say that I blame him.
Not at all.
And now I'm not a political person in any way. I don't identify with any political side because I think it's all a little ridiculous, just in my opinion. But
I can relate with you, brother.
um, like when you post something on Facebook, for example, when I think about like where a lot of my family's from, they're from the South.
Mm-hmm.
They're from the South and love them to death, but a lot of these individuals have some very narrow-minded views and opinions, and they make sure you know that. And almost everything has to do with something political.
Yeah, definitely.
And you get the name calling and you get the stereotypical type stuff. And I don't understand why it's like that. I really, really don't. Because
I don't either.
Dude, it makes no sense, right? Because what does it matter what somebody's political views are? And how did you get something political out of this here? Like, they're not even in the same realm, and you just combine them like that. And then somebody else chimes in, getting super defensive, and then everybody else goes on the attack, and it just creates like this virtual verbal war zone.
That's
and then
honestly
now we
the
have
best way to put it.
Yeah, and then now we have issues like mental health crises.
Yep.
Among men, among women, among children.
Yes.
It's really bad in kids right now.
It is.
It is so bad. The statistics will piss you off.
No, I agree. I can't tell you how many times I've been in the same room with a child, a literal child, and they tell me how scared they are of what our world is coming to. And that in itself breaks my heart.
Yeah, it does. It's heartbreaking. That's why, for me and my kids, I'm not going to let them have a smartphone until they get to be a certain age, because there's a lot of things they don't need to see.
Yeah, that's one thing that my parents were really, really smart about. They didn't give me a phone until I was at least, what grade was I? Like 7th, 8th grade? And even then, I still feel like that was too young, right?
I didn't get one until I was 15.
So yeah, I was around that ballpark, yeah, for sure. Yeah. But even then, I still feel like maybe that might be too young, But then again, you got kids nowadays that are like 3, 4, 5 years old, and they have their own smartphones. What? Where did we go wrong?
Right, with no limitations.
Exactly.
A smartphone, a legitimate iPhone 15, 16, newest Samsung.
Where did we go wrong?
I don't know. When I think about my childhood, I spent most of my time outside playing.
Same. And when that street light came on, I'm gonna run. I better run.
Even up until when I was, 16, 17 years old, I'd still be outside playing.
Exactly, same.
Granted, it was different. You're not playing, toy soldiers and stuff like that. But we would still go in the woods. We would still ride bikes.
Yep.
We would still skateboard. We would still play football, basketball. we'd hang out at a friend's house or something, you know, if it was
Agreed.
raining outside or whatever.
Yeah.
And now the neighborhood that we're in now is the first neighborhood that I've lived in my adult life. So, you know, pushing 10 years, where I see kids outside playing. It's a safe neighborhood, you know,
That's great.
but you don't see kids playing outside no more. They're
No. Dude, I'm telling you, dude, where I work, right? There will be people, like a group of 4, let's say, for an example, sitting at a table with their face buried in their phone. No interaction happening, no talking, nothing. It's just silence, and they're just going at it on their phones. Like, again, where did we go wrong?
Exactly. People stopped having conversations, and this is just my opinion, right? So this is just what I have looked up back in even ancient times, like biblical times and everything.
Yeah.
Men of a village would sit in circles and they would talk. Now, it wasn't called mental health at that time,
Yeah.
but they would talk about issues with, you know, the village or tribe or whatever, and they would just sit around and talk. Just men. And then these men, fathers, would bring their sons with them to let them listen in on these conversations. That's a men's group.
Right.
That's a men's social group
Right.
as we know it today. They didn't call it that then, right? They called it other stuff. But
Right. Yeah.
you do not see men's groups anymore.
No.
Not at the same level as, you know, hundreds, if not thousands of years ago.
Yeah, right.
Men don't talk.
It's true.
And one of my missions with this podcast is to get more men talking, get more people talking in general.
Right.
Because as I said before, I'm very appreciative of what women contribute to our society.
Absolutely.
They are rock stars, and the things that they have to deal with are completely, in a lot of ways, it's worse than what men got to deal with.
Right.
In a lot of ways, it is. This podcast is not designed to diminish that in any way.
No, not at all. I like to say, how's that quote go? Behind every man is a strong woman, or something like that.
Yep, exactly. Take me, for example. I'm a stay-at-home dad. Now, granted, that wasn't the plan.
Right.
Economic necessities required that I be a stay-at-home dad, and this is just what makes sense for our family. But I couldn't do this if my wife didn't do what she did. She's a nurse. I couldn't do this if she wasn't doing that. And when we first got together, she was the, you know, quote unquote stay-at-home parent. She was doing school and stuff. But she would stay at home with my oldest kid, and I'd be the one going out to work. So, you know, the roles have
They've kind of flip-flopped, yeah.
Yeah, they flipped. And being a stay-at-home dad has changed my opinions of women in general, because I didn't grow up in an environment other than my mother and grandmother.
Right.
I didn't grow up in an environment where women were necessarily respected. I didn't see women be respected very much, and vice versa. I didn't see women respect their men very much either. So
Right.
there's a lot of things that are going to have to change with my opinions and my emotions. And it's already happening. It's already happening. Just with the people I've talked to, the research I've done, you know, talking to guys like you, and because I didn't realize. Now, this may sound dumb. It really may sound dumb, but I didn't realize that from an individual artist perspective, that you can put something out there like your albums, and it's essentially your entire mental health journey.
Literally, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't
Like, if
say,
you just listen.
I wouldn't say that's dumb. I would just say, you know, that's your experience, right?
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I'm elevating my knowledge every day with this stuff. I had no idea that somebody's entire mental health journey, maybe not the whole thing, but you know what I'm saying.
A good majority of it.
Yeah, exactly. That their mental health journey could be put into song form.
Yep.
That's awesome to someone like me.
I mean,
That's the kind of stuff I need to hear.
yeah. I mean, it's like, and vice versa with you. Like, your entire mental health journey comes out on this podcast.
Yeah.
You know, that's another form, you know, music, podcasting, any form of entertainment, you know, streaming. That all blends.
It absolutely can. And it's been so much fun so far, and I'm just getting started with it. And there's just 2 more questions
Cool.
that I have to ask you.
Fire away.
One of which is, what is your advice for people who are wanting to do what you do?
My advice for anybody that wants to do what I do, just start. That's literally what I told someone not too long ago. Like, they were very intrigued about starting their own journey. And I told them, they gave me some questions like, how do I do it? What do I do? I literally just told them, just start. That's all you got to do. Whether if it's writing a song, just start it. Whether if it's making a beat, just start it. You know, there's so many different tools out there to utilize that can teach you how to do these things. And mind you, I used YouTube to help me learn how to make beats. Granted, I had mentors as well that taught me, but the majority of what I learned came from YouTube. YouTube is a tool. YouTube is a great teacher. Use it. And I tell anybody that wants to start doing this to do that, because you can learn what beat programs are out there. You can learn how to record your vocals. You can learn how to make certain types of beats. You can learn about what's within the beat program that you're using.
Yeah.
YouTube is a great teacher. I tell them all the time. YouTube is your tool. Utilize it. As far as, other questions that they have, like, how do you deal with this? How do you deal with that? You just keep pushing. You just got to keep pushing. There's going to be ridicule. There's going to be hate. There's going to be negativity. And it's going to suck. Point blank. But you just have to learn and, take the time to go through that. There's no way that you're not going to go through it. But you just have to build up that armor. And then eventually you'll just brush it off your shoulder and you can keep moving. But
got to keep moving. I love that.
It's gonna be hard. You got to acknowledge that. So if it makes you feel if the comments make you feel a certain type of way, allow yourself to feel. That's what I had to do. I had to allow myself to feel, and eventually you get through it. Allow yourself to feel and acknowledge how you're feeling, and talk about it with others. I talked about it with my friends. I talked about it with my family once I got comfortable enough. Once I was more older, as a kid, I didn't really know how to do that. But when I was in high school and I was a little bit older and knowledgeable, I was able to express how I was feeling with others. And I've learned that it helps because they get to see a different side of you that they don't see. So acknowledge how you're feeling, acknowledge with others how you're feeling, and you will get through it.
And I think, by the way, what you just said, wholeheartedly agree. I love that. I love the way that you worded that. I think that, with what you were saying, I think that shows a level of emotional strength.
Oh, yeah.
Which men really lack right now.
Absolutely.
They really, really lack the emotional strength. It's debatably, it's easier to be physically strong than it is emotionally strong.
I agree.
And I feel like I think it takes both. You got a little mix of both. But really, really appreciated the way that you worded that. I really, really do. So, okay, now I have two questions. Sorry, I missed one.
You're good.
What's next for you?
Oh man, what's next for me? I'm just doing what I can to continue to spread my story and spread my message to not only give others hope, but to also help them use their voice who are scared to. At first, I was terrified to use my voice. But once I started noticing that my voice was helping others, it was wheels to the road, man. I was ready.
Yep.
So,
even if it's just one, right?
Even if it's just one.
That's how I feel about this podcast.
Exactly. So, I'm doing what I can. I'm looking to spread my story, spread my message, to help others feel hopeful and to give them the strength to use their voice as well. You know, I'm a part of a committee where we throw a suicide prevention walk every year, every October. It's coming up.
Oh,
And
heck yeah.
so we get the community together and they all register to be a part of the walk. And we have a little program that we go through acknowledging different things. And we do a bead ceremony where, you know, we go through the different groups that are affected with their mental health. And we acknowledge that and we appreciate their presence of being there. And then we walk to support the cause. We come back, there's live music and there's different little activities that they can do. And it's a great time, you know, and the work that I've done with that committee has been great. There was one year, I think it was last year, that I think we ended up raising $50,000
Holy crap.
for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, which is insane.
That's so much. That's an
When-
awesome contribution.
Dude, when they came back to us with that number, I was floored. I was absolutely floored. And it was amazing. You know, I couldn't have been more thankful and appreciative for the community that came out and showed out that day. That was crazy.
Yeah. No, that is wow. Congratulations for
Thank
that.
you.
That is
Thank you.
that's indicative of the kind of person that you are and the kind of work that you're doing. Not just with your music, but with your community too.
Absolutely. You know,
That is awesome stuff.
without my community, the work that I've done both in and out of music wouldn't exist. It was my community that urged me to do what I do, and they support a lot of, if not all of what I do. And they give me the strength to keep pushing, keep moving forward. You know, my community that I see day in, day out, my online community, like all my supporters, they're the reason I keep doing what I'm doing. And, you know, just my own purpose that I've created for myself helps keep me pushing too.
Well, you keep it up. You keep it up. You're doing some really good things. And keep playing out some good music too. I like it.
Oh man, that ain't stopping, man. I'm gonna keep going until I don't have a voice anymore.
So the last question that I have, I ask everybody this: what is a question that you wish I had asked you today, and how would you have answered that question, if any?
Ooh, that's a really good one. Wow.
Like, what's something that we didn't go over that you thought we would have?
To be honest, it feels like we went over everything that I would imagine we could have, you know?
Heck yeah.
That's why I'm so stumped right now, because I can't think of one. Yeah, I don't think I got one for you.
Well,
I hate to disappoint.
No, it's not a disappointment. It's a good thing, right? Because I do put a lot of time and effort into this. Into the podcast, and I do a lot of research. So, especially whenever someone gives me a direction, whenever I ask them, you know, what's some things that I should research. So, I really dive into it, and I try to be as thorough as I can while also maintaining a good flow of conversation. So, but dude, seriously, thank you so much.
Of course,
for real.
Man.
Thank you for this.
Of course. Thank you.
These kind of conversations, they just don't happen enough.
No, I
especially in our age group. You
Yes.
know, I'll be 30 next year. So, especially in our age group, these kind of conversations just do not happen enough. Especially, you know, here in America. So,
Right. Agreed.
just thank you so much for this.
No,
Seriously.
thank you, man. It was great being here. I'm glad I could be a part of it, and it just feels good to, you know, to keep this conversation alive, because it needs to happen.
I absolutely agree. Well, you know, that's gonna pretty much do it. You know, y'all watching over on YouTube, be sure to like, comment, subscribe. DJ, where can we listen to all of your music at?
So you could listen to all my music on Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube Music, like literally anywhere that you can digest and consume your music. Or it's the other way around, consume and digest music. You can find it basically anywhere.
Well, alrighty then. And that's D.J.J on like Spotify, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. I'll make sure everybody knows. All right. Like, comment, subscribe. Y'all have a good one. Thank you.